fingers.
Nothing's happening.
Oh my gosh.
We are live. We are not live. We are not live.
It's
My
almost.
my people are waiting for me. Can we get the show?
Yeah, you're famous.
I am. All about
Honey,
me.
Can you tell Henry to shut his door?
Are we live now? We are apparently live. Good evening, St. John's. It is wonderful to be with you again on this fantastic Thursday evening. The hair is a little bit grayer and certainly a little bit longer since the last time we were with you, but we wanted to spend a little bit of time chatting with everybody this evening, getting you caught up on where we are. We have a few questions that were sent in. We'll address those. And then Anna and Lisa will talk about grading, grade books, report cards, and anything else that they want to share with you. And I think also some of the challenges that they are facing as we work on this side to implement distance learning. So I want to just sort of remind everybody and help everybody understand, first of all, that our plan is going according to plan. Even before we knew that we were going to have to close, we had started to put a plan in place. And that plan had several phases to serve the children. The first one, of course, was through distance learning. The second one is through summer work, and I'll talk a little bit about the summer work in a minute because a question was sent in expressing some concern about perceived intensity of summer learning. The third is the 2-week period that we're going to open early. And then fourth, we're also planning, and I hate to say this, but I'll say it anyway, we're also planning for the possibility that we will need to begin next school year as a hybrid, and the investments that we're making both in terms of teachers and also in terms of technology. So that's the way the plan was set out. I think we're doing a great job overall of staying with the plan. You're seeing that through the communication. And I think what's also good about it is that the plan is geared to be adaptable, and it is geared towards working with individual families, those who feel as though their children are overwhelmed. And we have certainly some families who are primarily concerned about their children's emotional and mental well-being at this time of challenge. And then we have some families who believe that their children are doing just fine. And for them, what really matters is the intensity of the academic work. It's also important, I think, to remember that the school is now basically serving about 450 classrooms. This type of learning has become very, very diffuse, in many ways much less beyond our control than a normal school setting. But I think overall the school is doing a tremendous job. I could not be prouder of the teachers. We did a great job of transitioning, and we have addressed things as we needed to, and will continue to address them. Enthusiasm is still high. Morale is good. People are working their tails off to serve the children. They love your children. I see that more and more all the time. And so I am feeling really very positive about the way that my colleagues are moving forward. I wanted to sort of address a couple of questions that were sent to me before handing it over to Lisa and Anna to focus on division level work. And certainly I will continue to monitor my Facebook on my phone, and if questions come in live stemming from this conversation, we will certainly address those too. A couple of questions about the summer work. So basically, as I just outlined, the summer work is really designed to be part of this plan to make sure that there really is no learning loss. Learning loss takes place over the summer anyway, and that in combination with distance learning means that we have to put everything, different steps in place to make sure that the children are well served. They don't miss a beat. They come back in August either live or remotely to get the school year underway. There was never any assumption on our school's part that we could deliver the sort of education that we deliver typically versus remote learning. And I've often said, and I have not heard any school say it yet, but any school that says that they can produce the same quality via distance learning is being disingenuous and dishonest. We know what the limitations are, and we've taken steps and we've put things in place to help the children move forward. what we focused on from the start was really the curriculum essentials. We knew that it was not possible to focus on every single thing in the context of distance learning. And so teachers were asked to really bear down and drill down into what the essentials were and to focus on distance learning through that and to adapt our lesson planning to meet those needs. Then to pick up the slack of that, we're looking at the summer. And the summer learning, again, is not intended to be robust. That was the phrase I used before. Not robust in terms of the volume, but to be targeted to make sure that over the summer, parents and children have an opportunity to address any skills and content that we had to drop temporarily because of distance learning. So the focus of those summer learning plans will be, again, very targeted, very teacher-driven, very specific in terms of what the children need to know. Some children may not need to do those summer packets. There may be a minimum of work that they need to do based on what the teachers decide. And this is very much teacher-driven, as the summer packets really are. So I don't want, and we don't want any parents to get alarmed by the notion of summer work. And certainly what we're looking to do is to add these layers of blankets to wrap around the children to make sure that by the time August comes, they will be ready. The third stage of that, of course, is the 2-week period that we have built in. We are still working and we will continue to work with teachers to develop what that looks like, how much time is spent perhaps with current year teachers, how that handover is best managed. We anticipate certainly a period of diagnostic assessment of the children to see where they are, and then how best to use that. But it's a cushion that we wanted to build in to make sure that the students were given additional time, an additional opportunity coming back from the summer, highly unusual summer, to make sure that they're ready to move forward. So that's sort of the plan. Again, I think we're doing a great job. I couldn't be prouder. Everything is subject to change. We follow the guidelines, as we all do, in terms of what the health experts, and the government says we are allowed to do. And in that sense, we have to wait and see what they say. But I want to assure every single parent that there is this tremendous ongoing planning and preparation for any scenario. We will make sure your children are well served. And I know that that will continue to be the case. So with that, I want to sort of hand over to, I'll come back to a couple of the other questions I didn't address explicitly in that comment, but I want to hand over to Lisa and Anna. We've been talking a lot about grades and grading and report cards. What's the right thing to do in the context of the situation? How do we keep students engaged in the work as much as we can? What are our faculty seeing in terms of their interactions with the kids? What do they think we should do? So let's start with grades and grading. And I'm going to start with Anna. Where are you at with your faculty, and what thought process is there, and how are you approaching this?
So we're approaching
ability to.
They can't hear. Something's going on. I just want you to keep going on.
Oh, no one can hear me?
I don't think so. Jennifer, do you see that?
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Let's go
should
back. I apologize. Let's go back to Anna because we started with Anna.
Okay.
I can't remember what I said.
You gotta love live TV.
So I can't remember what I said, but basically what I said is that your children have been working hard, and we want to make sure that they continue to do that. And we know what your children can do, and we know that what they're capable of. So we want them to continue to work hard and complete their assignments in the best way that they can. We know everybody's household is very different, and we know that some parents can help in the evening and some parents can help in on the weekends, and that's fine. The teachers are very understanding. There's a lot of optional work, as you know. We have some clubs going on in 3rd grade and 4th grade. A lot of the enrichments are happening, and they're Zooming live, and of course that is all optional. But I just want to make sure you all know that we are looking out to make sure that your children are doing the best that they can. And we are turning back work if we think that it's not done to their children's ability. We know what your children are able to do. The teachers know what your children are able to do. And before I realized nobody can hear me, I was saying we've had teachers as young as pre-K turning back the work because we know that some children can do better. So what we're looking for is work completion. Your child's report card is going to look a little different. There's going to be some narrative in there like it usually is. And what we've decided, and Lisa will speak more about it, is that we are looking to do more of a satisfactory across the board to see, to make sure everybody knows that we understand under these circumstances, all of your households look different. Like Hugh has said many times, this is not a one-size-fits-all, especially for pre-K through 4th. There are different levels of help that you've been able to give your children. So, we just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to succeed. In our ideal world, the teachers have asked we keep this a little bit of a secret because we want your children to keep working hard, and we want them to know that even though they're not going to get an A per se on the report card, we want them to strive for excellence like we've always wanted them to. So that's what we're looking about for grades. Your report cards are going to look a little different, but we want to make sure that the kids are still continuing to finish their work, complete their work, and do it to the best of their ability.
Thank you. And I think it's important. Every school in the country's report cards are going to look different. And I think that's something that is worth keeping in mind, is that every school is going through this. And so the accommodations and the understanding and the adaptability and the empathy are going to be present at every level. And you're going to see that moving forward, certainly. Lisa, sorry to interrupt you before. Back over to you.
So I'm going to, is that what I should do?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So, back when we started this journey in March, we weren't sure how long we were going to be out. So the teachers and I decided that we were going to, assign homework and classwork grades. In the event we came back to school, we would just carry on as normal. But, as you know, that didn't happen. So, one of the things that I've written over and over in Eagles Wings and told you, our goal was to make sure that each and every student completed every assignment. And, we're looking for quality work. This work isn't busy work. It was designed specifically to introduce a skill, practice a skill, and, test a student's knowledge of the skill. So, they can't, if you skip a piece, you're going to find yourself unprepared. So, it took a couple of weeks to get everyone in a routine. And honestly, I probably get maybe 3 emails a day for missing work. And, in the beginning, I might have gotten 20 emails. And mainly that was, just innocent mistakes. They forgot to submit work. So the kids have really come through and completing every assignment. There has been a lot of personal growth and following directions, and, really, our students are known in the community and, as they move on into high school and even college, as people who just sort of have polished work. So, we're expecting that St. John's quality. And what I mean by that is writing incomplete sentences and using proper grammar and supporting your ideas with details. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. So I have to say that at this very moment, I wouldn't change a thing. The teachers, I talk to each teacher every week, and they're thrilled with the quality of work that your students are, turning in. So now that we're not coming back, as Hugh said, one of the difficult tasks is, what do we put on the report card? Schools all over the nation are using, different terms. I am not a big fan of pass or fail. That is not St. John's quality. I really have to credit Hugh. He came up with, I think, what best suits our school. And so the students will receive, if at middle school they complete every assignment, a satisfactory grade. And I totally think, that's a good way to put it. I'm behind it 100%. I'm sure if you think about it, you can't compare, quarter one, quarter two, and quarter three to quarter four. Although we've been giving homework and classwork grades and, some quizzes, we're not giving tests. It wouldn't be fair to give tests. Those grades can't really be represented with the same name. So, keeping in the high standards of St. John's, we're looking for that quality work. And, the report card will, I've spoken to our student information system. And so what will end up happening in the middle school is quarters 1, 2, and 3 will be averaged into the final grade. And, so that will be in the final year-end grade, that will be, the student average, and that satisfactory that your student will earn, will not change, that final grade at all. So, it's difficult. I personally have struggled with this a lot because, we have a real opportunity here in the middle school to really and truly do what I think is so important, and that is work on what makes a great student. And, getting an A on a test is the end. And I think what makes a great student is, the note taking and the reading comprehension questions and, the classwork and, that daily work that kids do is what ultimately ends to, up in the high test score. So that's been our focus over in the middle school.
Great. Thank you. So I'm just looking at Facebook, a couple of the sort of questions, and then I'll dig into a couple of the specific questions that were sent out. I mean, hybrid learning, what we're talking about and preparing for is a couple of different scenarios in the fall. One, of course, is our much preferred scenario, is that we just begin school in a normal, happy, wonderful way with everybody able to return in August and ready to get back to things as much as possible the way they were. We also recognize that there are different scenarios that may present themselves. It may be necessary to have this hybrid, whereby we have a mixture again of live learning at school on campus, depending on whether parents are comfortable sending their children back to school in August, depending how this whole thing progresses between now and then. We're also preparing for the possibility that there may be this so-called second wave and the implications of that. I think what I would simply say is that I want to assure all the parents that we are looking not just out for today, but we are looking out for next week and next month and July and August to make sure that we're prepared in every possible sense for every scenario. We have a meeting of our tech educational leaders at school, and Anna and Lisa and Michael Solzer and Aaron Hill and Melinda Dix. And we are looking into now what additional technology we might need to invest in that we can use to make sure that if we are required to be a hybrid or to continue distance learning beyond the end of this school year, that the overall standard of that will be even higher than it is now. So all good stuff. Nobody is complacent. Nobody is accepting or assuming that this is going to be over, as much as we hope, with the end of the school year, and we will be in good shape. And I really want parents to know that. So a couple of questions that came in before, and then I'll have a look down on Facebook to see if any more have come in. Here's a question that came in. Typically, the last week of school does not have any real academics in it. Given this, are we technically going to be done with school on May 15th? I'm going to have to defer that really to Anna and Lisa to comment on, because I have not gone through a full school year. And so I don't really know what that means and whether that's a accurate assessment or how you would respond to that.
Well, our teachers have planned until the last day of school. Their lesson plans have gone through the 19th, really the 20th. So our plans is to keep going until the 20th, unless something changes from meeting with Lisa or changing with meeting with the teachers. That as of now, we anticipate going just like we usually would. Usually our end of school year, the last day was the 20th, and it was, end of the school year, half day of school. So I would anticipate the 20th being more of a relaxed, fun day, but virtually. But as far as going through the 20th, I would anticipate yes. Lisa?
Well, I would definitely say that we have planned out until the last day as well. As I think I mentioned in Eagles Wings, we are finishing up the curriculum for the year, and we plan to review as if we were going to have exams. Just like it's important to really work hard on your homework and your classwork, exam review is a great exercise. It's a great culminating experience. So although we won't have a test, the students will be spending that last week in exam review.
Great. Question that came in. If next year is hybrid, will it still be Google Classroom or a different format? I think that's one of the questions that we're looking to answer on Monday. And we certainly will incorporate that. So thank you for that. I addressed the question, I hope I addressed the question of summer packets, and that they're going to be targeted and very much more specific. We are also producing a list of resources for parents, age-appropriate, subject-appropriate learning sites that children can use over the summer, and we'll be sending that out shortly. Let's see. Would school be open to sending out a list of teachers that are willing to tutor this summer to help the children complete these packets if they are required? Well, the school has a policy on tutoring, and as long as teachers are not in conflict with that policy, and they would be in conflict with that policy if they were directly tutoring a student that they taught or were about to teach, then I have no issue, certainly, if teachers want to be available. So I'm happy to reach out to our teachers and see who's interested. It will be interesting. Usually teachers like to use the summer to rest and prepare for next school year. Of course, this is so unpredictable and unusual that maybe there are teachers who will want to tutor over the summer. So we'll find that out. When the children go back on July 28th, will they be taught by their current grade teachers, or will they be taught by their new teachers? Specifically asking because we have a child switching campuses and are curious how that transition will go. That's all part of the planning. I mean, I can't answer that right now. We have to get very much teacher input on how those 2 weeks will work. I think a lot of it will depend on how the next few weeks go with finishing the year, how the summer packets go, the work that the teachers are asking or offering students to do. And then from that, we will craft a plan for the first 2 weeks, that optional 2 weeks. Again, I think a key part of that will be diagnostic, seeing where the children are, and then also planning to use that 2 weeks to make sure that everybody is at the same starting point. Any other questions? Let's have a quick look. Can you speak to the teacher changes announced today, specifically plans for second grade open position? I am still thinking a lot about that. Obviously, the situation is fluid. We have to wait and see where we are in terms of numbers. Currently, the decision is whether to run 2 sections or 3. I will say that obviously very, very sad and disappointed that Megan has decided to move on at the end of the year, but understand why. So it's something I am monitoring, and something that I think we will make a decision on as we move forward, but no decision yet on whether we run 3 very small sections or 2 larger sections. I'm going to do a bit more research and find out what ultimately is best for the children educationally and socially, and make a decision based on that. Will you provide summer prep info for incoming pre-K? 4. Anna, will you provide summer prep info for incoming pre-K 4?
Yes, there's a couple of teachers that will be working and planning to work with some incoming pre-K 4. More information is to come out. Of course, this is all if we're able to really completely open the school. But yes, our plans, we've usually had a couple teachers work in small groups with incoming pre-K 4. And also they get a little bit of prep if your child or children come to ELIT camp. They do a lot there. It's a good way to get the children to know the other children, as well as the fine motor, the gross motor skills that they have coming in. And we have some additional help that we can give them, and guidance for you if we need to help you and guide your children with anything they need going into pre-K. So yes, that is the answer.
Thank you. Lisa, what about ERBs?
Oh, well, drat. That one of my dreams was to, if we came back, take ERBs. That's something we need to talk about. Obviously, it's not something that we do in the summer, and I'm not even sure we can get in the building in the summer. So that's something that we're going to have to talk about as a team and decide. Some schools take them in the fall, and some schools take them in the spring. Traditionally, we take them in the spring. We don't have an answer for that right now. So, we'll talk about it. And, it's right now, it's so hard to make plans because we're not sure what will happen in the fall. So, I wouldn't worry. We use other diagnostic methods to see your students' level and growth. So if you have questions or concerns about that, I definitely would reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help you. The only good thing about not having ERBs is it gave us some extra time during the distance learning to work on the curriculum. So I guess I'm just going to look at the bright side.
Good. Okay. And just to go back, I should say on the personnel front, very, very excited. I know Carrie is very excited. I know Michael is very excited. And I know Anna is also very excited with the changes that are taking place there. Carrie, as you read, if you read Eagles Wings today, after 14 very, very successful years in the primary division, is going to branch out and step into first grade next year. And her role will be taken by Lena. And Lena is an outstanding educator who's been an assistant, but is a fully qualified early childhood teacher. And she, with Anna's full endorsement and full support, will move into the position vacated by Carrie. So those are great moves. Always sorry when people move on, especially when it's their decision. And that's the way things happen in organizations. We move forward. I see every departure as an opportunity, and I think that we have made the very best with these moves. Lisa and I are close to hiring a teacher to replace Ricky in 6th grade. That process has been really in the last 2 weeks or so. We've known that Ricky was contemplating, for family reasons, a move to North Carolina. He let us know yesterday that he regretfully and very sadly was going to make that move for his family's sake. We had been interviewing up till today, and we believe we found an outstanding candidate to join the 6th grade team next year. So overall, I am disappointed to see good people leave, always, but very excited about the prospects for the future. Okay, could we perhaps see more live Zoom sessions for the classes? Might be nice to have more real-time teaching time. Would either of you like to respond?
Do we know what grade?
Let's have a look. It's from...
Got one in lower and one at middle.
Okay, one in lower and one in middle.
Well, as far as Zoom goes at middle, just like everything that, we have put in place during the distance learning, Zoom had a learning curve and has its uses for each grade. In 5th grade, we found the best way to use Zoom is, of course, for that community time. We want to check in with the kids, see how they're doing. It works very well for directions and questions and, answering the questions, and also individual help and small group help. As far as teaching concepts, I would say we have about a 5 or 10 minute window for, keeping their attention on Zoom during that situation. 5th graders also enjoy summing up a lesson with Zoom, going over maybe a project they created or answering questions. But the lecture time with 5th is a little bit difficult on Zoom. As the kids get older and their attention span increases, the lecture time also increases on Zoom. So, what we've done over the course of the last 5 weeks is, tried to collect some formative data. After we have a lecture, we might have the students answer some questions. The teachers are using recorded lessons for concepts a lot of times, so the student can watch it a few times. Even in the student survey, several students pointed out to me they enjoyed the recorded part of the lesson because they felt less distracted. Then, after those recordings, we'll ask some formative questions to see, what did they grasp from this? So we've even added some new apps. Ed Puzzle is wonderful. It allows the teacher to record their voice and maybe, screenshots of, writing or a PowerPoint, and it'll stop at certain points and ask questions to see if you understand what's going on. It gives us amazing data about what the students learned. So what we're trying to do is make sure that what we're doing is working, and then adjusting what we're doing based on each grade level to get the results, that we want. So, we are very blessed to have Zoom, and it definitely, I don't know what we would do without it, but it's, as Hugh said, as much as we are trying to recreate a classroom situation, it's not the same. There's no bathroom passes. Kids can get up and walk away from Zoom. They're, looking at their phones. They're doing all kinds of things that, we really can't control. So through trial and error and just the blood, sweat, and tears of my teachers who have taken this very seriously and, really, as Hugh asked them to do, like pinpointed, what is it we want to accomplish by doing this? So, that is the, premise behind the decisions we've made with Zoom. When is it working? And that's when we're going to use it to get those good results.
Thank you, Anna.
The question was more for middle, according to the parents, but we have been using Zoom as well. I think that we've gotten into a good groove. We have used it in a variety of different ways. We're doing some small group work. The kids have gotten used to it. I think the novelty has worn off. They're really understanding how to use it and the proper ways to use it. The teachers have done an amazing job of sharing their screens and interacting with the students, and they've done small groups even on the Zoom. So as far as from what we're using it at primary and lower, it's become very good tool, very interactive, and I think we keep on learning and growing, and we've incorporated a lot more of the enrichments as well. So it's just almost trying to find the time now because everybody's so busy using it. But yes, it has been very successful as far as tweaking it and learning and growing with the Zoom and the children.
And as I think we've heard and we keep saying, individual parents should reach out to you and to their child's teachers if they need more, if they're feeling overwhelmed, anything that we can do to help in the context of this situation, absolutely we will do. A couple more questions. Are parents still going to be asked for input on classroom makeup next year? Interesting question. I've heard that question asked before, but it's usually kind of request a specific teacher. And the answer to that is no. We do not entertain specific teacher requests. We will be, however, asking parents to let us know. We'll have a little form, a little way for you to respond. We always want to know, as part of the complete process of creating the best possible learning environments, if there are any dynamics that we don't know, right? If there are friendships that have gone sour, if there are new friendships, if there are relationships that have been very good for your children that you would like to see continued. I actually believe that the more different friendships children are exposed to, the better off they are. So I always counsel parents not to try to create a planned pathway for their children socially through the school. We also have family dynamics. We had a situation this year where what was presented to us was two children who were in a major conflict. And when we really dug into that, what emerged was that actually the families were in major conflict and the children were really just being, in some ways, a sideshow for that. So yes, we want to know if there are factors that you believe as parents will help us create the best learning environment for your children. We will sit down based on a number of factors over the summer, and we will create the class lists. And once those class lists are created, we are planning on sharing them with you earlier than we've done in the past, probably by at least a week, so that you have knowledge of who your children are going to be with. You can begin to develop those social relationships, reach out to each other. But we do not entertain specific teacher requests. And I think the reasons for that are fairly self-evident, but it just creates a negative dynamic and is not something that actually creates a positive learning environment. So hopefully that answers that question. Anything else come in here? Any more information about K4 coming back in May?
I That's my answer. Well, I guess it's like a moving target. We are still thinking about it. I spoke with you at length this afternoon about different procedures and protocols we would need to have in place. And so I guess the answer to that question is we're working on that information, and hopefully we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. As you know, the physical well-being of our families and our students, and as well as the mental health, is at the forefront of everything we're doing. So we want to make sure that those are all aligned before we return, if we plan on returning to K4 on May 4th. So it is still a possibility, yes, and we're talking about it.
Bless you, Lisa.
Is that correct, Kiko?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that we are laying the groundwork for what increasingly looks like a return on May 4th for K4 only, but we want to get it right. We want to get the right protocols in place, and we're working on those now. And as soon as those are finalized and we are comfortable with them, that they can create the best possible, safest possible environment. We're also, again, looking at a possible hybrid for that. We have quite a few K4 families who indicated that they would like their children to return, and some that wouldn't, and we respect that, and we would continue to serve both those groups under that model. We would have some teachers, who would come in and be with the children at school, and then some teachers who would continue the remote learning. Let's have a look. Why would possibility of pre-K returning be any different for K or other grades? The answer to that simply is that the governor has said that K through 12 schools must remain closed, and pre-K is exempt from that. And so I think what has happened is that some pre-K preschool programs have remained open, and some may also open after May 4th. So it's simply a matter of criteria and what the mandate of the government is. We would love, 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 love to have all the children back tomorrow, but we can't do that as long as we are mandated that these restrictions are in place. So it's a good question, and the answer is very straightforward. It's just not what we're allowed to do. It's what we have the discretion to do versus what we have no discretion to do. Would it be possible to know about the decision regarding 2 or 3 second grade classrooms prior to May 1? I don't think so. I mean, I think there are too many factors that go into that, and quality of candidates at this stage is a key factor in that. But we'll make the decision as soon as we can, and based on what we determine to be the best process for the children. Is an early start in July optional? I don't think so. I mean, I think other than July 28th, that's what we're looking at. And I think that should be enough based on the work that we've been doing and the plans that we have in place. And I think we're preparing. This is a marathon. We've talked about that. We have to prepare for a marathon, not a sprint. And we have to discern how best to use the resources and how we can prepare for the long haul if that's what we're presented with. So I think, we're confident that the July 28th early return will serve the children well. Anything before that, I think we start getting into other complications. When will we know about summer camps we signed up for?
I think we're just waiting to hear more information from the governor about what he has to say. But as far as we're concerned, we are ready with our small groups for as far as Eaglet Camp is concerned. And we are going to have smaller groups, but we are ready with that, depending on any kind of other governor mandates that we cannot control.
And then I'd like to say, as far as the June sports camps go, I'm waiting to hear what the regulations will be as far as social distancing goes. It's a little difficult to play sports. if, the kids are going to be 6 feet apart. So once we find out the details and when things may sort of lift or change, then, we'll be able to make better plans.
Okay, I think that may be it that I can see for questions. Lots of lovely compliments for teachers, which is fantastic. I know they appreciate that, and I know how hard they're working. So last question, really, I asked Lisa and Anna to think about and share with you, parents, from their perspective and from the teacher's perspective, what are the challenges you are facing and addressing as you work to serve the children?
What the challenges we're facing to serve the children is the fact that we've turned the, no offense, we've turned the day in, day out education to at home. And it's difficult because, especially with the younger ones, we're so used to them being under our care with the reading and the writing and the way we do things at school. And so that's been difficult, but the challenges have been the fact that it's not the same in every household. We want to make sure that the kids are all learning and thriving, but they're just doing it in different ways. So I think for us, we want to make sure that the mental well-being of your children and the physical well-being of your children is what we want to make sure that they are learning and thriving, and we are understanding that. But we just want to make sure that they are kind of where they need to be, and I know they are going to be where they need to be, and I know the teachers are excited that they are really, really learning and understanding what they are being taught via Zoom, via Google Classroom, and every part of the day. But the challenges have been turning over what we usually do at school back to home, and we're not there. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. But we've learned a lot, we've tweaked a lot, and we've grown. We've done a lot of check-ins. The teachers are constantly checking in with you and the children, and I know I've been checking in a lot, and there's still that aspect of fun we still want to have with the kids, because that's still important. So we just want to make sure we're kind of getting all of those boxes checked. But the challenges have really been making sure that students are still engaged and learning. But I do believe that is happening, and I know actually that is happening from the feedback I've gotten from the parents and from the teachers. But for the kids, one of the challenges that I see, and I want to keep everybody doing it, especially the younger ones, is keep writing. Handwriting is still important. We want to make sure those kids are still getting a paper and pencil, and they're coloring and all that stuff that they do in school, that they're still doing that. Arts and crafts, all that fun stuff that strengthens their fine motor, and all those fun PE videos are fun, but it's fun for them to do that as well. So we just want to incorporate all that, and those are the biggest challenges, are trying to make sure that we're getting it all done, but I know we are. So I think that we are doing a great job, especially those teachers that are working hard.
Lisa, challenges?
Well, the first 2 weeks, it was really like the kids were starting a new school and a new school year, because the, systems and processes were very different. We went into this hoping to build independence and responsibility. With our youngest learners on the middle school campus, some of them still think that their grade is 1/3 their parents, 1/3 the student, and 1/3 the teacher. And, we were a little worried how this was going to turn out. And I have to tell you, it's amazing to see what these kids are, doing on their own. And, we've had to tweak a few things because we don't want to bother you, the parents. We started asking the students to check out of class. And, the reason we asked that is we'd like to make sure that you completed all your assignments. And then, as students are doing work, the teachers are actually able to comment on that work. And, you know, if they see things that are not correct, they ask them to go back and, you know, fix it. So, you know, checking out helps us make sure that we get that quality work. So that was one challenge we faced, were the occasional missing assignments. You know, we want every week the teachers are trying to do new and exciting things. We want to keep their interest. We know this has to be hard. I couldn't be prouder of the teachers trying to think of creative ways to engage the kids. You know, they've been a cute assignment I heard about this week. They're a 5th grade in social studies. They're learning about, you know, the Patriots, and they some of them went around their house and they put on little outfits and they record themselves on Flipgrid. And so some of the work is, you know, project based, and some of it is their cute little selves and videos. And so we've really tried to go down every avenue to make it not the same thing every week. So, you know, and I do have to applaud the teachers because, you know, they want to keep them coming back. They want to keep them excited and engaged. And, you know, we worry every time they would extend, you know, us not being able to come to school, how that would affect the kids, how it would affect their learning, you know, how would they feel about that? So, you know, those are some of the things, you know, that we've worried about. And we also want them to take this seriously. So, but I can think of one student right now that I'm worried about. They know there's a system, they know our expectations, and you know, a couple of parents have mentioned they don't think they're doing enough work, and I really hope that you do take a moment and maybe scan through their Google Classroom and look at the comments from the teachers, look at the outstanding work that your students are doing. And, you know, remember they did this on their own. And, you know, we don't have bathroom passes. So we've had a couple of students fall asleep in class. You know, it's, you know, you have wonderful children. And I can't imagine doing this with any other students. So if we had to be in this situation, and I have worked in other schools, it would only be St. John's that I would want to do distance learning. So, but do compliment them and know how far they've come, and think about if you got a couple of emails that first week and now you're not getting any, that's all them, you know, that's your kids. So way to go, kids.
Thank you. I think one last question did come in about graduation. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're thinking about for graduation at the moment?
Well, we sent an email out saying that, you know, we were looking at an alternative date, hoping that if we looked at June 25th, the social distancing, you know, restrictions would allow for us to gather. And, you know, at this point, we still don't know, right? We won't find that out till social distancing is in place till May 8th, unless they extend it, right? So it should be around May 8th. We should find out what the new restrictions would be. And we've even tossed around possibly having it in August. We think it's so important for us to gather. Oh, I don't want to talk about this. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm going to start crying. But we're thinking about it, and, you know, as soon as we can do something, you know, we will. Is that correct, Hugh?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
That's right. So.
Great. And we'll obviously we'll communicate with that, right, as those plans continue to evolve. So, look, I'm going to close this. I don't think there are any more questions. I'm going to close this just by bragging on our school, right? And I think it's important not to forget a couple of really, really valuable things. And I hope that every parent who's watching this and every parent who's part of the school can get even a small indication from these types of events that we're doing, just what's been going on, right? Before, I said that before we even knew that schools were going to have to close, we had a system in place. We planned for today and prepared for tomorrow. What I have seen, and I've had faculty and staff meetings by Zoom. We've been in regular communication. This school has truly been the area leader from the beginning of this in how it has responded. And I could not be prouder of that. It's unprecedented in my experience professionally in 30 years. And I think we need to keep that in mind, right? St. John's has been the area leader. No other school has come up with a plan to cover the learning loss yet that we've seen. No other school has been communicating the way that we've seen in terms of keeping parents updated. You belong, in my opinion, to the strongest school in the Tampa Bay area. Not just the strongest school community. And it's only getting better. So I want all of you to take from this just a little bit of a taste of what I see on the other side of the camera day in, day out from my communication with teachers, from my communication with Lisa and Anna. These people are working overtime, and they are working overtime in the context of their own life stressors, their own families, taking care of themselves, all to serve your children. And that's how much they care. That is priceless. It truly is. And I just want to say, Lisa, Anna, thank you for the awesome job that you continue to do. Thank you to all of our wonderful teachers. Thank you to all of our wonderful parents for your incredible support. This is the best school community that I know of, and we are fortunate to have each other. So with that, we'll keep communicating. We'll keep you informed. We're always available. Email, send us an email if there's anything we can help you with. We're here for you, our families. This will end, and the best days lie ahead. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining in, and we'll look forward to doing it again. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.